Good morning. You're tuning into Nightline with me, Sabrina Zainal. The top stories. PM wants corporate governance issues linked to GLCs to be fixed immediately. And engineer killed in helicopter crash in Pahang. We begin with this story. 6 corporate governance issues are weighing down government-related companies' GLCs. This includes the failure to distribute profits to the government, in addition to persistent and consecutive losses incurred by subsidiaries. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim wants the issue to be fixed immediately.
The Prime Minister said this in his speech at the launch of the implementation of auditing of government-linked companies event at the Putrajaya International Convention Centre on Thursday.
Disorok melalui pinjaman kepada syarikat atau anak-anak syarikat. Sebab itu ahli jawatankuasa pelaburan, ahli jawatankuasa audit yang dilantik harus memberi pandangan dan nasihat yang lebih tegas kepada ahli lembaga pengarah dan pengurusan tertinggi.
Other issues identified include monitoring weaknesses in the achievement of key performance indicators, KPI, as well as the company's strategic plan. It was also revealed that appropriate approvals for company decisions were lacking in certain cases, including the payment of salaries.
Maknanya prinsip dia apa? Mana-mana badan, termasuk ahli politik atau ahli parlimen, itu syarikat yang dapat dana daripada kerajaan, okay, maka pertanggungjawaban itu secara telus harus dilakukan.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister said the National Audit Department will conduct audits on nearly 2,000 GLCs starting this year. Anwar said the audit aims to address weaknesses such as continued losses and the failure to manage and supervise company operations. He said the audit will be carried out by applying an auditing method under the artificial intelligence AI-based e-self-audit system under a pilot project introduced in November 2024.
Meanwhile, the government, according to the Prime Minister, is still reviewing the proposed amendments to the Whistleblower Protection Act 2010, aimed at enhancing public confidence and the processes involved in safeguarding informants. In addressing concerns that whistleblowers were advised against approaching the media when reporting wrongdoing, Anwar said the matter was being reviewed.
Anwar commented on whether the government plans to amend the act to protect individuals who make public disclosures prior to informing enforcement agencies.
The reason, there's a rationale for that, because everybody says that there's the truth and you condemn the person before he's even investigated or having the opportunity to explain. So but we are re-looking at it.
It was earlier reported that the government had no plans to amend the act with regard to protection for individuals who make public disclosures before reporting to enforcement agencies. On the proposed amendments, more than 20 working committee meetings, 5 development workshops and 6 engagement sessions have been held with various stakeholders.
Recipients of the Sumbangan Asas Rahmah Assistance Scheme, SARA, do not face issues in utilizing the aid using their identification card, MyCard. Second Finance Minister Datuk Seri Amir Hamzah Azizan stated that this is based on the spending trend of 700,000 recipients.
Melihat dengan prestasi pelaksanaan program SARA pada tahun 2024 yang turut melibatkan kawasan luar bandar di semenanjung Malaysia, kadar penggunaan tertinggi telah dicatat di Kelantan dan Perlis dengan tuntutan 97%.
Amir said this during the minister's question time in the Dewan Rakyat on Thursday. He added that Terengganu and Kedah also recorded 95% for claims involving purchases made at over 700 participating retail outlets, with over 50 million ringgit being spent. In another development, Amir said the government, through the Health Ministry, will implement comprehensive health reforms. He said the initiative is aimed at tackling medical cost inflation and charges at private hospitals.
Apabila tuntutan MHIT melebihi premium secara berterusan, dana premium yang terkumpul tidak akan mencukupi untuk membayar tuntutan dan oleh pemegang polisi.
In December, Bank Negara Malaysia announced that it would regulate the rise in medical and health insurance premiums as a short-term intervention to alleviate the burden of rising medical costs on the public. In other news, Malaysia's embassy in Washington, D.C. has not received any formal notification from United States authorities regarding claims that Malaysians are facing deportation under stricter immigration policies. Wisma Putra said this in a statement issued in the wake of media reports that over 400 Malaysians are allegedly on a list of undocumented individuals set for deportation from the U.S. It added that there have been no official requests for consular assistance from the affected Malaysians. It also reaffirmed its commitment to protect the interests of Malaysians abroad and pledged to provide updates as the situation develops. The embassy and its consulates in the U.S. remain in close contact with relevant authorities and continue to engage with the Malaysian community to ensure their well-being and compliance with immigration regulations. The report surfaced amid heightened immigration enforcement under the new administration of U.S. President Donald Trump, which has led to increased scrutiny of undocumented individuals in the country.
We want a guarantee. We're handing a money handover. They're finding tremendous amounts of really big things.
Now in Pahang, a 27-year-old Indonesian engineer was killed by a chopper's rotor blade when the aircraft lost control and crashed at its landing site. The pilot, also an Indonesian, sustained injuries in the 10:20 a.m. incident.
It was reported that the Bell 206L4 helicopter had just flown in from a project site located 16 kilometers away. The incident occurred after the pilot lost control of the aircraft while it was hovering 0.9 meters above the ground during refueling, causing the aircraft skid to scrape against the landing surface before overturning and catching fire. The light aircraft was completely destroyed in the fire. The engineer, Vincent Reski Sembiring, was believed to have been struck by the rotor blade and died at the scene. The pilot, identified as 44-year-old Kustiyadi, sustained minor injuries. Bentong District Police Chief Superintendent Zaiha Muhammad Kahar said police have recorded the statements of 2 eyewitnesses.
Mengawal keselamatan yang menyaksikan kejadian itu, so dia terus pergi ke arah helikopter itu dan telah mengeluarkan juruterbang itu.
The deceased's remains were extricated at 4 p.m. and were sent to the Bentong Hospital, while the pilot is receiving treatment at the same hospital. Police have commenced investigations into the crash.
3 celebrities had their statements recorded at the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC) headquarters on Thursday as part of a probe into a corruption and money laundering case under OP Sky. According to sources, the celebrities in question are Datuk Jalaluddin Hassan, singer Ziana Zain, and astronaut Datuk Dr. Sheikh Muzaffar Shukor.
The trio arrived at 9:30 a.m. and entered the building via the back entrance. MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki had earlier said that the individuals were scheduled to provide their statements and clarified that they were not considered suspects in the case. After nearly 5 hours, a vehicle believed to be carrying Ziana Zain was seen leaving the MACC premises at 3 p.m., followed by the 2 other celebrities. OP Sky targets corruption and money laundering activities involving financial consultancy firms and bank officers at several financial institutions. The operation has already led to the arrests of 12 individuals during raids conducted by the MACC's Anti-Money Laundering Division. The raids took place across 24 locations, including residential properties and offices within the Klang Valley. A total of 27 individuals have been arrested, including 18 bank officers, 8 employees from a financial consultancy firm, and 1 member of the public.
Now, Tan Sri Azam explained that the MACC will examine the amount paid to the 3 celebrities who served as ambassadors for the financial consulting firm.
Kita nak tengok kenapa syarikat berkenaan sampai menggunakan selebriti-selebriti ke siapa baik pun untuk mempromosikan pakej mereka itu kepada terutama sekali penjawat-penjawat awam bagi memohon pinjaman-pinjaman daripada masyarakat.
Azam explained that there is no need to freeze the celebrities' bank accounts, and initial reports indicate that the celebrities received payments of up to 400,000 ringgit over a period of 1 to 2 years in exchange for promotional activities. In Johor, a 49-year-old trader was charged with distributing almost 40 kilograms of drugs last month. At the Muar Magistrates Court, Nazaruddin Ma'ruf nodded to indicate that he understood the charges against him. He was alleged to have distributed more than 23 kilograms of heroin and 10 kilograms of methamphetamine at a house in Taman Warisan Muar on January 26th. He was charged under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. The case has been set for remention on May 8th. Bursa Malaysia closed higher for the 5th consecutive trading day, aligning with the positive performance of regional markets. The FTSE Bursa Malaysia KLCI rose 0.67% or 10.66 points to 1,585.17 from Wednesday's close of 1,574.51. Earlier in the day, the benchmark index opened 1.92 points higher at 1,576.43 and hovered between 1,573.90 and 1,585.17. On the broader market, gainers led decliners 489 to 388, while 514 counters were unchanged, 894 untraded, and 12 suspended. Turnover increased to 2.93 billion units, valued at 2.10 billion ringgit versus 2.86 billion units, worth 2.32 billion ringgit on Wednesday. According to UOB Kay Hyun, the growth is driven by share buying activity related to data centers, reflecting sustained investor interest in the sector. South Korea's foreign ministry on Thursday said it has taken measures with regard to Chinese artificial intelligence AI startup DeepSeek due to security concerns.
우리 부처는 관련 부처에서 전반적인 보안을 검토하는 가운데 외교부 차원에서 필요한 예방 조치를 취한 바 있습니다.
The ministry has also restricted access to DeepSeek and computers that connect to external networks, while other South Korean ministries are reported to have temporarily blocked employee access to the app. The ban makes South Korea the latest government to warn about or place restrictions on DeepSeek. Earlier, Australia and Taiwan banned the app this week from all government devices.
How will Malaysia's leadership in 2025 redefine ASEAN's global role? In what ways can Malaysia strengthen ASEAN's unity and progress? What bold actions can Malaysia take to drive ASEAN's growth and influence? Muhammad Ahmad Hamdan speaks with Tan Sri Dr. Munir Majid only on Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and stream on Tonton.
Leverkusen bounced back to secure semi-final spot. Actions from DFB Pokal after this breather.
Kalau semua ejen dah pakai Iris, Mata perlukan saya lagi ke?
Kenapa semangat sangat nak kejar aku sampai sini?
Semua rimau aku serang, aku masih boleh tendang. Kalau nampak jangan jengang, kalau kacau benang kami nanti dengar gendang perang lepas lawan yang di sini.
Apapun yang terjadi, aku tak akan menyerah. Di sini bukan sekadar pertandingan. Ia adalah pertempuran sebuah kebangkitan. Setiap bait lagu adalah air mata yang pernah jatuh dan harapan menggapai kemenangan. Aku pasti bergelar juara.
Siapa sangka pasca pandemik telah mengembangkan lagi penggunaan private cabin di sektor pelancongan di Malaysia.
Bukan sahaja orang buat sebagai rumah, chalet, homestay, tapi ada jugalah yang buat sebagai klinik.
Teknologi ini boleh diterapkan dalam silibus pembelajaran kemahiran.
Majalah 3 Kapsul, Sabtu 10 malam di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Saksikan pentas finale Kopi Soda One in a Million. Ahad ini 9 Februari jam 9 malam. Dan rebut peluang untuk memenangi hadiah lumayan yang menanti 50 orang pemenang. Tonton keseluruhan rancangan, imbas kod QR yang tertera dan jawab soalan-soalan yang diberikan dengan tepat dan pantas. Maklumat lanjut di tonton.com.my. Palang Kopi Soda OIAM TV3. Kopi Soda One in a Million. Sejuta soda, satu juara.
We're back with sports football, the DFB Pokal. Defending champions Bayer Leverkusen survived a scare as they came from behind to beat Cologne 3-2 after extra time in their quarter-final clash.
Leverkusen were expected to cruise past their second division opponents, but they fell behind in first half stoppage time after a strike from Damien Downs. The visitors doubled their advantage just 9 minutes into the second half as Linton Maina rounded off a swift counter-attack. Staring at their first defeat in the competition since July 2022, Florian Wirtz set up Patrick Schick to spark a comeback with 30 minutes remaining. Schick then sent the game to extra time with a header in the 7th minute of stoppage time. With all the momentum, the hosts completed the turnaround in the 98th minute and ultimately snatched the 3-2 victory as Victor Boniface volleyed home Alejandro Grimaldo's delivery. The win means Leverkusen, who knocked out Bayern Munich in the last round, joined Stuttgart in the semi-finals.
Still on football, the Brazilian Paulista Championship. Neymar Jr. made his long-awaited return to his childhood club, Santos, in a lackluster 1-1 draw with Botafogo at home.
The Urbano Caldera Stadium erupted in celebration as jubilant and tearful fans lit up their mobile phones, giving Neymar, who left the club 12 years ago, a hero's welcome before kickoff. Neymar, who was celebrating his 33rd birthday, started on the bench and came on after the break as Santos had taken the lead through Tiquinho Suarez's first half penalty. However, the Brazilian forward struggled under the pressure of his first game in 16 months, allowing Botafogo to equalize through Alexandre de Jesus in the 67th minute. The 1-1 scoreline remained until the final whistle, with players from the visiting team racing to take pictures with the star.
Moving on to tennis, the 2025 Rotterdam Open. Mattia Bellucci produced a shock win against second seed Daniil Medvedev, beating him in 3 sets to reach the quarterfinals on Thursday.
The 23-year-old Italian had never beaten a top 10 player before, but knocked out Medvedev with a 6-3, 6-7, 6-3 victory in 2 hours and 52 minutes. Up next, he will take on Talon Griekspoor for a place in the last 4. Earlier, Griekspoor provided Dutch delight as he overcame Matteo Berrettini 6-3, 6-7, 7-6 in 2 hours and 21 minutes. The result was in the balance, but Berrettini double faulted, trailing 4-5 in the third set tiebreak to hand Griekspoor the advantage. The 28-year-old Dutch then wrapped up the match on the next point to clinch his remarkable victory.
for a short break, but when we return, Bangladeshi protesters destroy Sheikh Hasina's home.
Empat finalis, satu gelaran juara. Siapakah yang bakal mencipta sejarah? Saksikan persembahan eksklusif penuh majlis daripada Datuk Sri Siti Nurhaliza, Ella, serta penampilan Faizal Tahir dan bintang tersohor Indonesia, Nicholas Saputra sebagai juri. Malam penuh kejutan, kemuncak segala impian, malam paling fizz, finale Episode 1 in a Million. Ahad 9 Februari 9 malam di TV3 dan stream langsung di Tonton.
Siapa sangka pasca pandemik telah mengembangkan lagi penggunaan preferred cabin di sektor pelancongan di Malaysia.
Bukan sahaja orang buat sebagai rumah, chalet, homestay, tapi ada jugalah yang buat sebagai klinik.
Teknologi ini boleh diterapkan dalam silibus pembelajaran kemahiran.
Majalah 3 Kapsul, Sabtu 10 malam di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Saksikan pentas finale episode 1 in a Million. Ahad ini 9 Februari jam 9 malam. Dan rebut peluang untuk memenangi hadiah lumayan yang menanti 50 orang pemenang. Tonton keseluruhan rancangan, imbas kod QR yang tertera dan jawab soalan-soalan yang diberikan dengan tepat dan pantas. Maklumat lanjut di tonton.com.my. Palang Kapisoda OIAM TV3. Kapisoda 1 in a Million. Sejuta soda, satu juara.
Ku mohon padanya agar terus bersinar kasih yang
Thanks for staying with us. Top U.S. government officials have walked back on some of President Donald Trump's proposals about taking over Gaza and resettling Palestinians permanently to neighboring countries after global condemnation and pushback from Middle East nations. Now, the Secretary of State on Wednesday said the idea was not meant as hostile, describing it as an offer to rebuild and to be in charge of the rebuilding and a generous move. At the same time, he walked back on Trump's earlier assertion that Palestinians in Gaza needed to be permanently resettled in neighboring countries and said the idea was for them to leave the territory for an interim period of reconstruction and debris clearing. Meanwhile, the United Nations warned that any forced displacement of people would be tantamount to ethnic cleansing. Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that at its essence, the exercise of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people is about the right of Palestinians to simply live as human beings in their own land.
In the meantime, Israel has announced that it will withdraw from the United Nations Human Rights Council, UNHRC, following the U.S.'s decision to no longer participate in the body. Its foreign minister confirmed the move on social media on Wednesday, stating that Israel will not tolerate what it views as the Council's ongoing bias against the Jewish state. He also criticized the UNHRC for what he described as its pattern of shielding human rights violators while unfairly singling out Israel.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order to exclude transgender women from female-designated sporting competitions and teams, a directive that Republicans say restores fairness, but critics say tramples on the rights of a small minority of athletes.
Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women.
The order, signed on Wednesday, directs the Department of Justice to ban transgender girls and women from participating in female school sports, a law against sex discrimination in federally funded education programs. The order will also call for immediate enforcement in schools nationwide. A White House official said the Department of Education would now lead investigations into schools to ensure compliance.
And last week I effectively...
Elsewhere, hundreds of Bangladeshi protesters smashed down buildings connected to ousted former leader Sheikh Hasina on Thursday, hours after students with excavators began demolishing a house that once belonged to her father. The protesters also vandalized and torched other houses across the country linked to Hasina, including an arson attack on the Dhaka home of Hasina's late husband. The protests were triggered in response to reports that 77-year-old Hasina, who has defied an arrest warrant to face trial in Dhaka for massacres, would appear in a Facebook broadcast from exile. A colossal explosion in the sky, unleashing energy hundreds of times greater than the Hiroshima bomb, with shock waves powerful enough to flatten everything for miles. It may sound apocalyptic, but a newly detected asteroid nearly the size of a football field now has a greater than 1% chance of colliding with Earth in about 8 years. According to the Planetary Society, such an impact has the potential for city-level devastation, depending on where it strikes. Called Asteroid 2024 YR4, it has an almost 99% chance of safely passing Earth on December 22nd, 2032. But a possible impact cannot yet be entirely ruled out. If it does hit, possible impact sites include the Eastern Pacific Ocean, Northern South America, the Atlantic Ocean, Africa, the Arabian Sea, and South Asia. Despite this, people are advised not to panic, as scientists stress that there is still plenty of time to prepare for a possible collision. They added that a strategy known as a kinetic impactor could be used to nudge the asteroid off course using a spacecraft.